قل هذه سبيلي أدعو إلى الله على بصيرة أنا ومن اتبعني وسبحان الله وما أنا من المشركين.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. As you've seen from the role play, we tried to make it different. I know from trying to make it as interactive as possible as well. Now, first of all, what is smoke? What's the actual definition of smoke? We know what smoking is, but what's the actual definition? Can anyone tell me from the boys' side?
Is it addictive?
Yes, but what's the actual definition?
Inhaling harmful toxins.
You're nearly there. Anyone from the girls' side? The actual definition of smoking itself. And I know some of you girls think I look like more Farah, but there's no need for that. But you can discuss that further another time. What's the actual definition, girls?
These girls are cheating.
Okay, you know what? If no one wants to tell me, I'll tell you myself. The actual basically definition from what the brother said, he gave the other half, was basically inhalation or breathing in or breathing out of what? Smoke by burning tobacco, and that can be done either through actual cigar, a tube, or vice versa. So that's basically what the actual definition of smoking is. Now the reason why I ask is because it's important to understand, especially when you talk about a topic, to understand each definition, because if you don't understand what the word means, then you can't get the main message across to the audience, and that's the reason why I want to start from that. Now, does anyone know what is actually inside a cigarette? Does anyone know? Let me start this time from the girls' side. Anyone know?
Tobacco.
Yes, that's one.
Heroin.
I'm actually talking about the cigarette itself. Heroin is actually the drug. You had your chance. Now it's the girl's turn. Yes, that's another one. Yes, that's another one. So basically, so far, what's said is tobacco, nicotine, tar, and the girl's side. Anything else? If you don't know, that's drugs. But again, that'll be covered by one of my colleagues. Basically, in one cigarette, there are more than 4,000 chemicals.
Oh my God.
Just one. Just imagine, one cigarette, there's more than 4,000 chemicals in it. Now, some of you already mentioned it, but I've only got a list of 16, which I'm going to just quickly touch on, are the main causes that can actually harm you. One of them is what they call ammonia. So basically, if you look at things that you use to clean your clothes, that contains ammonia. So that's in a cigarette. Just imagine, things that you use to clean your clothes, that's in a cigarette, which will actually cause you harm. That's one of them. Another thing is called butane. So does anyone know, these gas cylinders that you can get? You don't see it so much here, but back home in Somalia or in, I've seen when I went back, that's a while back, that usually what they do is, especially when they want to cook, you have a big cylinder that contains gas, you attach it to a furnace, and then you burn it, and that's how you cook your food. In that gas is actually in the cigarette itself. So when people fart, what's actually the content of the fart itself? Do you know, anyone knows? Yeah, fart, yeah, when you fart. Yeah, but what's the actual term? What's the name of the term? Yes, methane. That's in the actual cigarette. So when you fart, the actual gas itself itself is in a cigarette. Not nice, is it so far? No, not at all. There's something called polonium. Now, if anyone's done chemistry, would know that's in the periodic table. But that's also something that's radioactive, which actually can cause you harm. And have you heard of copper, anyone?
There's a copper.
Yes, copper is a metal. Now, that is in the cigarette. So when someone smokes, they take all of this rubbish into their lungs. And eventually what happens is, that causes them harm. And eventually, that as they carry on with it, they will have breathing problems. Now, we've just touched on cigarette. Now, everyone knows what shisha is?
No.
Okay. For those of you who don't know, basically, it's tobacco, which is burnt. Pardon? That's right. When you put something on fire, it burns. That's what it is, okay? That's right. And what happens is that with the shisha, it's actually a tube. And when the top part, you have the tobacco, and you place a coal on top of it. And when the tobacco burns, the actual smoke goes into the tube, goes through the water, and through a pipe, and you breathe it in. Now, it's also important to understand that in the actual shisha, which a lot of people think is safe, it's not, because it contains the same ingredient as what that is actually placed in the cigarette. And that's why it's very important that if anyone tells you that, oh, shisha, it's alright, man, it's cool, innit? It doesn't cause you any harm, don't believe them. Now, with regards to actual shisha, again, a lot of people say it's not harmful, it doesn't cause you any harm, it doesn't do anything to you, but actually it does. It is said that on average, usually when someone goes for shisha and they smoke shisha, they usually do it for an hour and a half. It is estimated that if a person who smokes for about an hour, it's like smoking 100 cigarettes. Just imagine, you light up 100 cigarettes and you smoke that. That is equivalent to doing shisha for 1 hour. Now, just imagine 4,000 chemicals you take into your body. And those 4,000 chemicals are actually present in those normal, cleaning, tar. And do you know what actually tar is used? Does anyone know where tar is used? Roads. So do you know when you see on the roads, the things that are used to make the roads, that is in a cigarette. And by smoking, you're actually introducing into your lungs, which actually will cause your lungs to not work properly. And that's what is important to understand, that you as an individual have the information at hand. And if someone who says, it's alright man, we can do it. No, you shouldn't. And you should be very, very careful, because this is your health, and if you do not look after your health, you're going to regret it when you grow older. Now, what are the reasons why people smoke? Before I tell you the reason, I want to just get your understanding from the girl side. Any reason?
Is it because to take out the anger away from them?
You're close. I'll come back to you.
They smoke for fun, then.
Yes. Girl side? Actually, not really. And I'll come back to that with regards to stress.
To look cool.
Pardon?
To look cool.
To look cool. Yeah, that's very true. Say that again? Yes. Depression, oh. Yes. Yes, that's the one, very big one. Peer pressure, yes. Now, you've mentioned some of the topics, some of the reasons why people smoke. One of the biggest one, which you just said, which is peer pressure. One of the things also, the reason why people smoke is because It looks cool, like someone said. Another is peer pressure. Now, what is peer pressure? Does anyone know what the definition of peer pressure is? I'm going to ask the boys this time. I'm going to come back to you guys in a second. Who has an answer? Yeah. What's peer pressure?
To be fat.
No, that's not it. That's not it. I'll give it back to the girls now. What's the definition of peer pressure? Someone other than you. Come on. Okay. Yes, what's peer pressure? One. Yes, so it's for you to listen to your friends and for your friends to persuade you to do something which is not good. That's definitely true. And in a lot of cases, when a lot of the children, when they do start smoking, the reason why they smoke or they start smoking is because their friend smokes. So for example, they will see their friend smoking, they say, that's not good for you. I like, man, just try in it at least, man. Just take one puff in it. And then the person tries one puff, and what happens? 15, 20 years down the line, they develop lung cancer, and God forbid, they have difficulties breathing, and they end up being put on 3 or 4 medications by the doctor. Again, is that worth it? No, it's not worth it at all. One of the other reasons why some of the children smoke is because they want to get back on their parents. That's very true. In some cases, is that some children to behave or to actually not listen to their parents, they start up doing things bad, and one of the things is smoking. So that's why it's important as parents that you try to speak to your children and communicate to them effectively, but also do it in a way that they understand, but also you do it in a way that you do not create tension or some sort of fight between each other. Another thing is, are you aware what's the legal limit of someone if someone was to buy a cigarette? Do you know what the legal age is? Wait.
18 and now.
Yes, it's 18. Now, sometimes people in their mind, I don't know how their mind works, they think that because it's illegal, if they can actually break the law, they get the hype. Yeah, man, I broke the law in it. It feels cool, Maybe and that is one of the reasons why some people do decide to take up smoking, because they think that by doing that, they can actually get the enjoyment of actually breaking the law. Now, we've talked about what Shisha is, we talked about what smoking is, and we talked about what's actually in it. What does it do to your body? What does it actually do to your body? Start with the girls. How? Okay, I see someone gave you the answer. That's not fair, but don't worry, I'll take that.
It tightens your breathing tube.
Say that again?
It tightens your breathing tube.
It tightens your breathing tube, and also the girl back said that it actually affects your lungs, what they call surface area, and I'll explain to you exactly with that, and I'll do some drawing in a second, inshallah. And one more from you.
It makes you have black blood.
Say that again?
It makes you have black blood.
He said that it makes your blood black. You're laughing, but it's actually true. You see, you think it's funny, but it actually does do that. And I'll explain to you in a second. Now, if I just quickly grab a pen, just bear with me, and I'm gonna have to apologize in advance because my drawing is rubbish. So I tell you, I'll tell you in advance. Probably you can get better image from Google Image if you search it. If you think about it, if you have your lungs, within your lungs you have what they call small branches, which are called bronchioles, and they then further and they further branch out again and then they have what they call something called alveoli. Now, that's the area where actual gas exchange happens, meaning because our body requires oxygen to work and survive. So these are the areas where carbon dioxide, which is a gas which our body doesn't need, is being removed from the blood, because in near these areas you have what they call capillaries, which is the blood supply. So what happens is oxygen enters into the blood and carbon dioxide leaves, and as you breathe out, the carbon dioxide comes out. Now what tends to happen is when you smoke, and in particular the tar damages these alveoli. And by damaging them, what you're doing is that your ability to actually take in oxygen reduces. So think of your lungs like a balloon. So when you blow up a balloon, it becomes big, and when you remove the air, it becomes small. What happens to you is that when you smoke, the actual lungs, the way it inflates and deflates becomes less. So that means you are able to breathe in and take in less oxygen, and that you retain more of the carbon dioxide because the exchange does not happen properly. And that's why it's very, very important that you as an individual, again, that you take this information with you. And if someone comes up to you saying, cigarette, shisha is alright, don't listen to them. Now, we talked about the lungs and what the harm is to the lungs. But I'll just mention to you other things that can happen to you as well. When you smoke, smoking itself actually affects your skin. And I'll tell you exactly how that happens. In the cigarette itself, what happens is that it affects the way your blood vessels work, the way your blood is actually working. And blood contains oxygen and nutrients, such as glucose and minerals and proteins. Now, these are the things that are important for your skin to become healthy and strong. Now, what tends to happen is if someone smokes, the blood vessels are reduced so that your skin does not get enough oxygen and the nutrients. So then you end up looking like very, very old. So if you are, I don't know, someone who's 20, you end up looking like a 50-year-old person. And is that what you want? All crinkly, dry skin. Is that what you want to have? No. Of course. If you don't want that, it's important that you do avoid and you don't smoke.
And you don't let someone smoke next to you.
You probably know, sometimes you come across people and they think, oh man, bruv, your breath stinks, man. Like, have some Tic Tac. You've probably come across a lot of people, right? And you probably even give them the Tic Tac or the extra chewing gum. Right? I do that all the time. What tends to happen is people who smoke, what happens is something, the term is called halitosis. But basically, it's basically bad breath. And those people who smoke always get bad breath. So, if you don't want to get bad breath all the time and be embarrassed in front of your friends, don't smoke. Also, the thing is that with regards to the cigarette and the way it is, what tends to happen is that the actual smoke from the cigarette tends to stay in your clothes. And especially when you come into the masjid, or not just masjid, you go into the masjid, you go and see your friends, you go and see your family members, you don't smell nice at all. And especially, it's important to understand is that when an individual smells, the angels run away from that person. And we don't want that. We want the angels to be with us so that they can protect us from who? Shaitan. And remember, a shaitan likes people who smell. So, again, we do not want to be close, or actually we don't want shaitan to be what they call, you know how on Twitter you get followers, right? We don't want shaitan to be our follower, do we? No, we can avoid that by making sure that we keep ourselves smelling nice, but also avoiding the cigarette smoking. Now, also, another thing that happens is that, has anyone hurt themselves by knocking themselves and get a bruise in their arm and their legs? Yes, everyone has, right? Even me. I actually broke my arm when I was younger, but that's another story for another time. But what tends to happen is when you hurt yourself, your body heals itself. Now, when you smoke, your body's ability to heal reduces. So that means if your body takes 2 days to heal, it ends up taking 3 weeks or even longer. And if your body does not heal properly, you can't do the normal activities, whether it's talking, walking, doing things that you would normally do. And because of that, your lifestyle and your quality of life is actually affected. And the most important thing is that when you smoke, you actually allow bacteria and viruses to infect you. You see, because what tends to happen is that smoking suppresses your immune system, one, but also actually prevents your body's ability to remove dirt. And because of that, you end up becoming more ill, and because you become more ill, you end up staying in bed, you can't go out, you can't play football. In my case, I play football, so if I was ill, I can't play football, or whatever you like. So whatever the girls like to do, I don't know whether it's, I don't know what girls do, but I do know what boys do, but be quiet, that's not nice, yeah? That's not nice. But as I said, what I'm saying, from what I'm saying from this is that it's important to look after our health, because if we don't look after our health, then again, as I said earlier on, we're the ones who's are gonna regret. We're gonna have a Q&A just in a second, inshallah, when I finish off, I won't be long. Now, what happens if I do shisha? Well, exactly the same. If you smoke, if you do shisha, exactly the same thing will happen to you. And it's very important that when people tell you, and a lot of people tell you, oh, shisha is alright, it's cool, innit? I mean, come on, like the smoke goes through the water cleans it. No, it's all rubbish. Because the thing is, it was actually tested and actually seen that actually cigarette smoking as well as shisha, they both have what they call the same harmful effects. And it's important that you as an individual, again, and I emphasize the point, because at the end of the day, you're the one who has what responsibility for their own health. So you can either harm yourself or prevent yourself from being harmed. And that's why it's important that you take the right decision and not go in that direction. Now, I've smoked for many years. I did shisha for many years. I didn't do that, but that's not true. But I'm just saying as an example. Yeah, just for example, let's say I've been smoking for the last 15 years. I've been doing shisha for the last, 5 years, and I've been doing it consistently. I say, you know what? I had enough. I don't want to do this no more. What would happen to my body? Does anyone know? What would your body do anyways? Yes, you get very stressful, that's one thing.
When you look at, you'll be looking much more older than you are.
That's very true, you look much older than you are. That's very true. But I'm talking about what does your body do when you stop? When you say
your body, it starts to take out all the bacteria and stuff.
Yes, as the young brother said, that your body starts to remove all the rubbish from the body. The girl behind. Yes. Yes, addiction happens when I'm actually smoking, but I'm talking about when I stop smoking. I'll give you a chance, go on. Yes, withdrawal symptoms, yes. Basically, what tends to happen is when you... Don't worry, I'll give you a chance in a second. What tends to happen is when in my case, for example, if I stop smoking, what would happen is that, first of all, my body will start to heal itself. That's the most important thing. My body will start to heal itself, one, and two, it starts to get rid of all the rubbish, in particular the lungs. Because the lungs is the main site where the cigarette is actually affected. So it's important that when you do smoke, you're actually preventing your body's ability to do. I mean, it's the same thing. If you have a car, in my case I do, and I put the wrong fuel in, what happens? The engine gets damaged. And if the engine gets damaged, that's it, the car's finished. It's the same thing with our lungs. If we smoke and we breathing toxic things, then we're causing harm to our lungs, and our lungs will not function properly, not work properly. But when you stop, your body will start to heal itself. Another thing people are not aware is that when you smoke, your blood pressure, do you know what blood pressure is?
No.
Okay, I'll explain what blood pressure is. When your heart pumps the blood, it has to pump the blood at the pressure so that, as you can see, there are, at the end of my tip of my finger and my toes, blood has to be circulated. So the heart, when it pumps, so if I just put that to one side, just imagine this is the heart. And as the heart pumps, it pumps from there, from the aorta, that's the actual main blood vessel, out, and then to the rest of the body. For the blood to reach tip of my fingers and my toes, it actually has to pump from a high pressure. So the blood moves from a high pressure to a low pressure. An example is, you know when you have a hose, and the water is actually flowing through, and you pinch it, what happens? The water is, what happens? The water shoots out, like that. It's the same concept, and it's the same thing with our body. Now, what tends to happen is that pressure goes too high, and if it gets too high, what happens? Does anyone know what happens?
You die.
You have a stroke.
Yes. No, that's a bit of an exaggeration. No, it does not explode. Basically, what tends to happen is that our organs will be damaged. So our kidney will be damaged, our liver will be damaged, and our heart will be overworked. And you know what it's going to say eventually? It's going to say, you know, Ahmed, ma'asalam, I give up, get a heart attack, you drop. Literally. And that's what happens. And that's why it's important, again, not to smoke. Because you get all these harmful effects. But if you stop smoking, your blood pressure decreases. Another thing that someone mentioned about heart attack, which I also, again, reiterated. If you smoke, your chances of getting heart attack increases. Yes. And that's why it's important, again, and I emphasize, the reason why I'm repeating again and again is because these things we are told at school, we hear it in TV, but I have seen people in my workplaces who have smoked and end up being, believe it or not, have to wear, and this is no exaggeration, they have to carry an oxygen tank. They have a tube through their nose, and seriously, and they can't go anywhere without carrying a mini oxygen tank, and they have to walk with it. Just imagine that for the rest of your life, you have to carry a little mini oxygen tank with you everywhere you go. Is that what you want to do? Is that how you want to live your life? Really? I'm just saying. You know what? I mean, and really, that's what happens to people who do not look after themselves, especially those who smoke. And also, what tends to happen is that when you stop, your lungs and the way it works will go back to the way it was before you were smoking. Because again, the reason why is because you gave your body a chance to heal itself. When you smoke, the smoke prevents your body to heal. But when you stop smoking, you allow your body to heal itself, and by doing that, then your body, the way it was before you smoked, it goes back to that. Again, I don't want to make it too long, and I don't want to bore you with too much science. That's why I just want to keep it as short and concise. And inshallah, if anyone has any questions, the panel is open, inshallah. If you want to ask me any questions and hopefully related to the topic, which is most important.